I've told this story so many times, but I've never really told the truth. 10 years ago, I met a doctor who gave me the weirdest prescription I've ever received. He told me I had to take a break from listening to melancholy music, which, granted, might not sound like that big a deal, except it was my whole life. At that time, my career as a professional performing artist who played very melancholy music was just taking off. And I was finally being invited to play historic venues in foreign cities on some of the same stages where my childhood heroes had played. And I was this close to the big break of a lifetime. But I was also a wreck. I had started having seizures and alarming symptoms, which the doctor explained to me was my brain and my nervous system in dire condition from so much stress, so little sleep, and lots of toxic, dysfunctional habits I had picked up trying to keep it all together. So as I sat there in shock, staring at the blank wall in the doctor's office, I felt like the whole world was closing in on me, and I was being forced to make an impossible choice. Either I continue in pursuit of my childhood dreams to make legendary music, and my body could die on me, or I give up on my dreams, and my heart would die on me. I'm an artist. We're just a little bit emotional. But luckily, this doctor must have had encounters with my kind before, because he just calmly looked at me, this very zen, Yoda-like expression, and asked, well, what makes something legendary? I didn't have an answer. And the journey I had to go on to solve this Yoda-like riddle is the journey I'm inviting you on today. My journey took me away from the life I thought I wanted, and instead I spent 10 years living in East Africa and traveling the world, directing creative projects centered around music in ways my childhood self never would have imagined. And it taught me that the choice I made that day in the doctor's office not only saved my life, but taught me how to live what I call a legendary life. And how anyone, anywhere in the world, not just celebrities or people born rich or public figures, but all of us can live a legendary life. But don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to quit your job and move to a foreign country, because the first step on this journey to unlocking your own legendary life is actually very simple. Take a moment right now to remember a song, a movie, a book, or a story that you considered legendary in your childhood. It can be anything from the ages of 0 to 14 years old, something that you loved, that you had on repeat in your head, that you knew all the words to. And when you have it, do you have it? Okay. Deepen into this memory a little bit. Remember what was happening at this time in your life. Where were you? Who were you with? What kinds of things filled your days? The first time I tried this experiment, I remember being 5 years old, standing alone in my parents' living room right after their really hellacious breakup, pressing play on my mom's karaoke machine and hearing a song that became the anthem for my life. For any of you who are unfamiliar with Good Morning Heartache by Billie Holiday, I'm going to sing a few lines for you so you can hear what I heard every morning of my life for years. Good morning, heartache, here we go again. Good morning, heartache, you're the one who knows me well. Might as well get used to you hanging around. Good morning, heartache, sit down. 5 years old. It's quite a melancholy song to choose as an anthem for your life, right? But when we're children, we're not always aware of what we're choosing. And that is the first piece of this legendary puzzle that I'd like to extend to you today. From the ages of 0 to 14 years old, our brain is a supple sponge, absorbing all the books, movies, songs, stories around it. And as we ride the hormone roller coaster of our adolescence, we form powerful emotional bonds with these stories. This is how we form our first definitions of what life is, what love is, what it means to be good, what it means to be great, and even what makes something legendary. So by spending some time with these songs, books, movies, stories that you've loved and put on these legendary pedestals in your life, you can hack into your child mind and understand how these stories shaped you to decide if they're shaping you for better or for worse. When I was asked to do this by my doctor, he didn't tell me to quit music altogether. He challenged me to find a new spin on an old story. So he sent me home to trade out Billie Holiday with binaural beats and hemisync tapes, which are like abstract musical soundtracks that balance the left and right brain to create deep states of rest and repair in the body. And they sound like this. As I listened for weeks and weeks, I was really bored. I was so bored. But something amazing happened. I started adding my own guitar parts. And added drum loops. And added new lyrics. Good morning, sweetheart. You're the one who knows me well. Good morning, sweetheart. And that's how I learned to create an entirely new kind of music and discovered new ways to tell my story. But the reason why I say that I never told this story truthfully is because I was always self-censoring somehow, editing myself out of the story, taking away the darkest parts, the messy bits, wondering if I should cover my tattoos because of being so self-conscious about how it would be received. And the funny thing was, I realized that that is exactly what was keeping me from living my legendary life. In the 10 years that I spent trying to answer Dr. Yoda about what makes something legendary, I've worked with people who make more money than you could ever imagine and people who make less than $1 a day. I've worked with young kids, teenagers, Gen X, Y, Z, and the elderly, and I've learned time and time again that legendary lives aren't determined by how much fame or fortune you have. They are determined by how much limbic resonance you experience. Limbic resonance is a state of deep emotional and physiological connection that you feel from authentic communication. Its neurochemicals light up the limbic part of the brain, and it makes you feel seen and loved and all the things that we consider legendary. When we are fixated on external ideas of what makes something legendary, nothing works out. Our content doesn't go viral, business launches fall flat, and relationships fall apart because legendary things can't be chased or caught or even created. They're just unlocked within us by aligning with the story that's truly yours to tell. So, what's the universal answer to what makes something legendary? Just like all Yoda riddles, there isn't an answer. There are only more questions. And these are the questions that I will leave you with today. What makes something legendary to you? Are there parts of your story that are essential to who you are that you've left out of the story? And also, what parts are you ready to leave behind? Take it from me, take it from Dr. Yoda, but find out for yourself. Sometimes a new spin on an old story is enough to change your whole life.